Welcome back to Grey Talks Wrestling. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another review. It's time to talk about WCW Great American Bash 1991. The show that could have been, that would have been, that never was. The match that never happened. Ric Flair versus Lex Luger was scheduled to take place. Supposedly Lex Luger was going to go over and take the title. But Ric Flair had it away on his toes, took the belt and left. That's right. And the next show I'm going to be watching, we will see Ric Flair with the real World Heavyweight Championship on SummerSlam. How about that? One of the biggest manoeuvres back then. Really, one of the most shocking ones. You've seen guys go backwards and forwards between the two companies, like Arn Anderson, Dusty Rhodes done it, Tully Blanchard, and a few others. Not many, but not a big name like this. Ric Flair was NWA, WCW. He was it. He carried it. It was him. He controlled it. When you talk about that era, you think about Ric Flair. When you talk about WCW, NWA in the 80s, the 90s, the early 90s, you think about Ric Flair as the world champion, dominating the scene, the Horseman. And he was gone. Gone. But it left a big void, in my opinion, and a void that was filled with some very talented performers. They did have that in their arsenal, WCW. Didn't really know it, some of them. They didn't. By the way, they were presenting them and promoting them and the gimmicks they gave them. Jesus Christ. Oz, the Diamond Stud, and many others. PN News, maybe not a big star really, but they just didn't know how to get them over really and what to do with them. If you look at this card, it is filled wall to wall with absolute legends, but they were not legends back then. They were young, hungry, up and coming stars, hungry for that spotlight, that time to shine. They were ready to go. And maybe the best thing that could have happened was Ric Flair leaving. For many others as well. Some of the veterans there. And this show was actually pretty decent. And it was thrown together at the last minute. You could tell that. That was a major issue I did have. But you could tell they had to do something. And I think it kind of worked. I wasn't overly disappointed with it. It wasn't the greatest show of all time. But there were some decent matches on this show. No doubt about it. Like I said, filled wall to wall with legends. And the first legend out the block, of course, a tag team legend, Bobby Eaton, but he's teaming with PN News. Where did he get him from? What is going on here? More importantly, they're in a scaffold match. Why are you putting PN News in a scaffold match? Who's booking this? They're going up against Terence Taylor, that's right. Terry Taylor. Still rocking the Terence Taylor look. The name, the gimmick. At least it's better than a Red Rooster, I suppose. But he's never living that down. Never living it down. But his tag team partner is young, blonde-haired, tanned body, looking great, by the name of Stunning Steve Austin. First time we'd see Steve Austin, this is his debut on a pay-per-view, I believe, for WCW, and he's in a scaffold match with PN News. And I don't know why they're in this match. I don't know. There was no reason for this match, I believe. It wasn't the best match of all, really. It was a capture the flag match. It didn't really work. I believe PN News and Bobby Eaton won the match. We wouldn't have known it, really. It was very anticlimactic. Wasn't the greatest of matches. The scaffold match had seen its day, really. Bobby Eaton had been in some classic scaffold matches. This one, by far the worst. By far the worst. Poor Bobby Eaton. But greater things to come for him, really. He does have a bit of a better run in the months to come. I'm pretty sure of that, if I remember rightly. What he does next and who he joins up with. But here, Yeah. This is embarrassing for him, I've got to admit. And Steve Austin, yeah, he did all right. Did all right, and greater things to come for him as well. Shame it takes him so long to realise what a star he's going to become. And then they didn't utilise it enough. And then he leaves and he goes somewhere and becomes an even bigger star. The greatest of all time. It's going to be fun to watch that journey again. And here is the start of it. Great American Bash 1991. Steve Austin. Like I said, this is filled wall to wall with legends. Up next, the Diamond Stud, portrayed by Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. Hey yo. It's a decent gimmick, I suppose. This is the start, man. And he's looking great, looking like a star. How could they not see it? How could they not utilise this? How did they let him go? He looks fantastic. He looked like a star. He walked like a star. He moved like a star. He was brilliant. What were they doing? He was primed, ready. They had it right there on the palm of their hands. How did they fuck this up? It defeats Tom Zenk here in a decent, okay match. 9 minutes. Ron Simmons is next. Another legend against Oz. Kevin Nash. Diesel. Another legend. Of course, again, another shit gimmick for him. Poor guy. He has to suffer through this. Then Vinny Vegas. I understand why he leaves. But he will admit that he was greener than the costume he was wearing. Back then, it took him. He had to leave to learn the business from Vince McMahon. And then one's Shawn Michaels, and then one's there. And then come back and run things in WCW. And that's what he did. That's how he became a star. That's how he became a legend, in my opinion. Yeah, he had a great run in WWF. Wins the titles. Wins it all. But it's what he does in WCW. Takes them from being the number 2 company to the number 1 company for 84 weeks. It is him, Scott Hall. Those two elevate this company in the late 90s. But here, they're just being wasted. Absolutely wasted. They don't realise what they've got in the moment. But luckily, somehow they get them back and utilise them in the right way. Ricky Morton against Robert Gibson. Never thought I'd see it. Never thought I'd see it. Like, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. What are they doing with them here? Why are they even in on this match? Why are they even doing this? What is the point? Where is this leading to? Why are you trying to make Ricky Morton a heel? Whose idea was that? What were you smoking when you thought that was a good idea? It never worked. It was never gonna work. And it didn't. No one wanted to see it. No one wanted to see these two fight. It wasn't a great match. They did their job. It wasn't terrible. But yeah, no. No one wants to see the Rock and Roll Express fighting each other. No one wanted that. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But again, yeah, 2 legends, I suppose. 2 Hall of Famers. Another Hall of Famer, well, future Hall of Famer has to be Dustin Rhodes. Come on. The career that guy's had has to be. We've got young Dustin Rhodes here teaming up with the Young Pistols. They're going up against the fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin, and someone called Bad Street. I don't know who it is. Someone will probably tell me down below if they can. But I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Let's have a look. Brad James. Oh, it's Brad Armstrong. Okay, fair enough. There you go. One of the Armstrong boys. But this one is okay. It's 6-man tag. Probably one of the worst matches on the card, though. Yeah, well, I didn't enjoy these Freebirds. Yeah, they got boring fast. Boring fast. By 1991, the Freebirds had their day, man. They were a big thing back in the 70s, early 80s. But now, yeah, no. They'd had their day. I don't know what to say about the next match. I really don't. Assuming it was Brian Pillman. That's what they're saying who it was. And he did beat Johnny B. Bad by disqualification. But he was going as the Yellow Dog. I don't know where this was coming from. He came out with a Labrador. The Yellow Dog. He had all dressed in a whole yellow outfit, yellow mask. What? Big Josh and Black Blood lumberjack match. Another match that no one's ever going to remember. Really not. I don't know. Black Blood didn't he have an axe or something? He tried to hit him with it, and then Dustin Rhodes saved the day with like a baseball bat or something to the knee. Ridiculous. This was ridiculous. Nikita Koloff and Sting, the chain match. Here we go. That was a good match. That was a bit of violence that I enjoyed. And Nikita Koloff getting the win as well. You didn't see that coming. You thought Sting would get the upper hand and get the win back and get the victory over the villain that is Nikita Koloff yet again. I like Nikita as a heel. I thought he was a great heel back in the day. And they could have utilised him better and more within this year. But we don't really see much of him after this. Not much more. Lex Luger against Barry Windham for the world title. Now Ric Flair's buggered off. We're giving chances again to other people like Barry Windham can step up. Could have stepped up a long time ago. But Ric Flair was always in the way. Let's have it right. Ric Flair was always in the way about someone like a Barry Windham who could have been a world champion multiple times. He was always in the way of an Arn Anderson who could have gone out on his own and does go out on his own this year. And has in my opinion, one of his best runs. Away from people like Ric Flair. And he's under his shadow, under his spotlight. Riding his coattails. When he shouldn't be. And I'm pretty sure Ric Flair would say the same thing. That Arn Anderson proved that he is not just a Ric Flair lackey. And we'll talk about him in a minute. But here, we've got Sting versus... Not Sting, we've got Lex Luger winning the world title against Barry Windham in a decent match. A decent cage match. Bloody, violent, good match, hard hitting. Finally, Lex Luger getting what he deserves. And there's a little bit of a story in there with Harley Race, Mr. Hughes coming out helping Lex Luger win the match. Where's that going? What's happening there? And then in the main event, I don't know why they did this. They put this in the main event. This didn't deserve to be in the main event. It should have been Luger and Windham, really. And it lasted like 2 minutes. Rick Steiner. It was supposed to be Rick Steiner and Missy Hyatt. But Missy Hyatt gets kidnapped and taken off by... Was it Dick Slater and... who's the other one? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah. Doesn't matter. Rick Steiner... in a handicap match against Arn Anderson and Paul Lee dangerously. That's what it came down to. It was a handicap cage match. Like I said, Arn Anderson finally away from Ric Flair, out on his own. With Paul Lee already is starting to form a new faction for Arn Anderson. A faction where he can shine in and be his own man. The Dangerous Alliance, one of the most underrated factions of all time, right up there in my opinion as one of the best factions of all time. Legend after legend after legend. And I can't wait to watch their formation and watch them grow over the next couple of pay-per-views for WCW. It's going to be very interesting. But here we get Rick Steiner pretty much squashing Arn Anderson and Paul Lee. Couple of Steiner lines. And it was all done. Rick Steiner got the win. Hit one on Arn Anderson, hit one on Paul Lee, covered Paul Lee, 1, 2, 3, done. But it was what it was. An American Bash. Without Ric Flair. WCW, without Ric Flair, without their world champion. He'd taken the belt and gone. legitimately gone to the other company with the title. Shocking. Can you imagine if that happened today? Could you imagine if someone like, I don't know, MJF showed up on Monday Night Raw with the AEW Championship? Could you imagine that? Something like that happening would shake the foundations of professional wrestling. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've all enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.